So we're going to start. We don't care about systematic updates. That's basically the
Nah,
same thing.
synthetic is garbage, dude.
Yeah, you do 30% more.
Whatever.
I'm sure people are going to get good armor sets 5 months in, and then, yeah, life's good.
Yeah.
But whatever. Glaives.
Glaives.
Glaives are getting butchered. They are now the worst weapon type in the game. Awful. No one needs glaives. No one needs them. We're bad.
Bait spotted.
Look, it says right here, it's been reduced by 40% against
It's gone.
miners.
Delete them all.
But it is getting buffed by 30% because it does count the melee thing, so it's only a 10% loss. But, as we'll get into, there's also 50 buffs.
There's like 300% damage buffs to glaive down the ways, so.
I think the best damage buff we had to glaive right now is Worm Gods, right? See how much Worm Gods gives at max.
Winter's Gale and Worm Gods is 275.
275? Is it even that high? That sounds really high.
For the current game, it's high. I think a synthoceps is like 160, right? But for glaives, it's 100.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, synthoceps is the main one people use because you can use it on any class right now, and that's 100%. Worm Gods is a bit better than that, but still nothing compared to some of these, which, like, Worm Gods now is 400%, so that's one.
Whatever, dude. Why'd they do that, man? Why'd they do that?
To be fair, actually, this is a thing people don't do because it's just awkward to upkeep. But glaive with radiant, we're losing that. So I guess that is a bit of a downside. Like, you can throw in a shuriken every once in a while or whatever to get radiant, and it makes your glaive better.
Doing that, it's a little painful to upkeep.
It's just awkward to use, so I don't even mind that that's gone. Yeah, that's fine. But that is something to consider. And also, Nobel's gone. So that's a bit of give and
Hear
take,
me out, Duck. I just thought of something.
What's
the
that?
Facet of Courage. PvE melee damage bonus increased from 10 to 50%. And if we go to the changes for close to melee, right? Close to melee is going from to a 60%, right? And that requires a kill.
Yeah.
But if you're on prismatic and you're using rake angle and you just shoot an enemy for slow, wouldn't your glaive do 50% more damage? Or winter bite would just deal 50% more damage?
Winter bite just has it by default. Winter bite, you just get it passively. Courage, you get rake angle, which everyone's going to use rake angle because why wouldn't you? That just does 50% more if you're using courage.
Yeah, seems so.
Well, actually, I don't know. It says on the patch that melee damage bonus increased from 10 to 50%. But courage says abilities. So I'm not sure if it's going to work with a glaive melee, but if it does, that's ridiculous.
But they also put in a thing that glaive melees now trigger all effects that are triggered by any melee ability.
Yeah, so I think it probably should. And I think this is probably the intention here that does work.
And they said they have increased access to melee damage increasing effects.
So basically, if you're running a glaive Priz build, like Priz Hunter maybe with like a glaive, courage is probably a must to use at this point. And if using a
Winter Shroud?
Winter Shroud, yeah, definitely, that'd be good.
Vexcal, stack your melee bonuses. Awesome.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Spark of feedback
is useless.
It's useless. I'm not particularly great.
It's useless.
It works with glaive, I guess, but it's if you get hit, you hit. I'm not relying on being hit. I'm not a big fan of that one. Roaring Flames
is massive.
It's a big buff, and there's the new exotic to throwing hammers. I could see why they made this one good. It's definitely this one isn't for glaives. Like, forget glaives for this. It's whatever.
Base, you're gonna have more hammer damage with Roaring Flames than you do with synthoceps right now.
Yep.
With this change.
And that's really good because if you want to use throwing hammer, you want to use the fun new exotic, and if you do that, you can't use synthoceps. So this is.
Yeah, you can.
This might be one of those things where it turns out synthoceps is just better, which is the case for every Titan build ever. But it does mean that, like, you could use the new exotic and it won't be throwing. So I am glad that this is a thing. But of course, if you use this and synthoceps, your hammer's going to be even better. So
they also made Roaring Flames work with 1-2 punch now.
That's good. That is very good. I wonder if does throwing hammer work with 1-2 punch? I don't think it does.
Yeah, it will now.
Oh, it does now. Okay.
Yeah, I think it did before, and then it was like soloing bosses, like Ghost of Deep, and then they removed it, and then
it was
now
taken
they're
away
adding
at one point. If
They're
that
adding it
does
back.
work now, then you can use 1-2 punch, throw a hammer,
The
and just
cannon.
repeat and just the 1-2 punch hand cannon or that shotgun or
Bastion.
anything. Bastion's a better 1-2 punch, but it takes like 2 years to
Takes
charge.
forever.
Yeah. So that's good. I mean, knockout buff. This is one of the things where you buff the best thing in the game, so this is gonna be pretty good.
Whatever.
Anytime.
Keep buffing Titans. Moving on.
Yeah, that one's good. Offensive bulwark. I always like this. I love it when you can stack
I like
it.
offensive bulwark.
But Void Titan is a bit sad. Currently, there'll be
Shield
a time.
back.
There'll be a time. But like, yeah, now that 1-2 punch lasts for 3 seconds, you can use offensive bulwark. You can use shoulder charge. You can use peregrines, and you can use offensive bulwark. And if you hit something with that shoulder charge and it is like a peregrine target, like a champion or some bosses, Nezarek, I think I got changed, they will instantly die 10 times over. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
So you can do that more reliably now. You could do this with Bastion, but not 1-2 punch before this, because Bastion, the 1-2 punch effect from Bastion lasted a little bit longer. It was just enough time to charge with a shoulder charge, but it was such a tight window. Now you can do that easily with anything.
I'll add that well, this could just go away because there's no more multipliers except for a 30% increase. The only difference between Shields Crash was able to one-shot Golgoroth, and now is they disabled it working by decreasing the timer.
Oh yeah.
Now the
you
timer's
can do that.
increased. The Titans are gonna be one-shotting raid bosses again? Question mark.
Because it's not all multipliers, and that build had like 5 multipliers on top of each other.
It was crazy.
This won't be as good, but you one-shot GM champions, you one-shot Nezarek, you one-shot pretty much everything what's an applicable target. So it's still gonna be pretty good.
As he one-shot, so funny. Anyways, let's buff Banner of War. Am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Let's buff Banner of War. Let's buff the best.
I'm pretty sure the best build in the game is Banner of War, Worm Gods, and any glaive you want. Oh, actually, no, more than that. But you can use any glaive you want, but it probably has to be a legendary glaive because you're gonna use Navigator, you're gonna grapple spam, and yeah, that's going to be disgusting. Hunter can do this as well. Hunter can grapple spam. Obviously, you gotta have someone else on Banner of War, but that's fine because your whole team gets the buff. You
gotta remember with the Banner of War change, old Banner of War used to reduce its damage buff with Worm God and Glaive melee, so you were under 2 debuffs right now. But now you're gonna get the full Banner of War for 2 separate instances of melee damage increases.
And if you're running Banner of War, you're on Strand Titan, you're going to either use Synthoceps or Worm Gods. Like if you're not using one of those 2 exotics, I'm not sure what happened there. So you're gonna already have, just by your like subclass and your exotic, you're going to have a huge melee boost. And this will work with glaives, so if you want to use a glaive, that's good. It'll work with just your regular charged melees and grapple melee, most importantly. Pretty good. Pretty good. Probably the best thing in the game. We'll see. But if I was to bet on what the best, like, just neutral subclass is, Strand Titan's probably there. Strand Titan, Priz Hunter, maybe Solar Warlock, we'll get into that one. They're probably the best classes in the game. And this is a huge reason why. Okay, Pokey, the hunter expert.
My baby,
What's
my
happening?
child.
Yeah, what's happening?
So, Stylish Executioner. This used to be insane. This used to be crazy for things like Withering Blades and Thread Spikes. Great for GMs, right?
Yeah.
So, Stylish Executioner is getting a damage increase. Who cares? Is what I'm going to say to that. It is already such an insane damage increase. Like we saw with Monte Carlo in a random stream. It makes it go from like 71,000 to like 211, whatever. Like, who cares anymore, right? So it increasing something that's already up, who cares? But now it works with glaive melees, right? Before it was like a menial increase. Now it's gonna get the full effect, it seems, because it says it, right?
Yeah,
so that's gonna be really good for like chill clip glaive build. That's gonna be really good.
Winter Bite is kind of nice because that just gives you slow on hit, so you just proc stylish again. Obviously, there's cooldowns and stuff, but you'll be procking stylish quite a lot, just like bot walking with Winter Bite. That's like such a huge buff.
the next tab here is works with every melee ability if the ability makes contact while you are leaving invisibility. This is a, I'm going to say it, stupid way of saying they're just unnerfing this. The way it worked before was the first enemy hit right out of invisibility got it, and then nothing else would, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you had to be close to the enemy. So they're just unnerfing what they nerfed, and this was fantastic before. Like before, like you had fealty on, right? You would fealty a champion, and they would be weakened now.
Oh, I
And
see.
now you can
Okay,
do
yeah,
your
yeah.
your bull, but now they're weakened, and it's free. And that was like a huge part of like the prismatic hunter build, like set that just got removed because it was good with combination blow. And the thing is, they kept it on combination blow, and then they removed it from everything else. So it didn't hurt anything that mattered.
What's interesting with stylish, because it seems like they're giving a bit of a grace period here, you might be able to sneak in a 1-2 punch. That
You
could be
could
a thing.
before, and you probably will be able to.
It seems like you should be able to consistently do that now. That'd be nice.
I mean,
Yeah.
with Bastion, right? You could hit the enemy, use a grenade or kill a debuffed enemy. Now you're invisible. Then you do your melee, and then you have the Bastion buff for it, and the weaken, and the 300%.
Yeah, that'd
So
be
that's what
very
people were
good.
doing with Tether back when there was the Tether synthoceps um, thing, because the Tether would give you stylish.
But I do remember that I tried it out against Raphael, where you can just like tether the boss, and as long as there's enemies around it, yeah, just with tether, you just keep getting stylish over and over and over again because the enemies just keep dying. So then all your grapple melees are doing obviously now 300% more because you're just getting stylish repeatedly. And that seems like that if you do that perfectly, it's a bit of a setup, and you got to use combination blow as well, which is just a pain in the ass. But that does seem like that is the highest now, like melee boost or whatever. Like percent wise, if you stylish combination blow, grapple melee, 1-2 punch, everything on prismatic hunter, that's probably the highest possible
Get a
boost you
one-star
can get.
champion.
Yeah.
Hunters are finally going to be peregrining, which is very fun.
It seems a bit of a setup, but this could be very, very good. And if you can grapple melee spam with this, because obviously prismatic hunter's the only one with grapple, like grapples in general, it seems pretty good. But yeah, just a bit of a setup. But if you can get it, if you get everything working right, this seems like it'll be very, very solid.
On to the dreaded topic, combination blow, the most hated thing in high-end circles. They're increasing its damage from the uneven 309% to a flat 400. This is just going to change threshold values. If you don't know how combination blow works, you just got to keep stacking it up. But there's an issue with threshold values. You have to punch an enemy 3 times in a row just to get your next stack. It's bad, right? So another 100%, I'll take it, right? Ease of use is everything for this. And then this is the stupidest thing I've seen today. Combination blows melee increase now works with glaive melees.
That is weird. I don't know why we did this. I'll be honest. It's cool that
So
you can
you
use
get
it,
3
but
combination blows, and then you switch to a glaive, and now it is better than Triton Vice.
yeah.
And you could stack it with Triton Vice to get like a 700% increased glaive melee damage. Like that's pretty cool. Anyways, it says Ascension. It's not Ascension. It's definitely Tempest Strike. Combination Blow now works with Tempest Strike in full effect. This is actually massive. Massive. They buffed Tempest Strike in Heresy with the faux like 4.0 arc that didn't really hit for hunters. But the issue with Tempest Strike is you had it all the time because of flow state, but it doesn't hit high enough, right? It does like nothing to champions, nothing to majors. It's like it's an ad clear tool, so who cares? But with this, you can be doing your combination blows, and then like a major comes up or a wave of enemy comes up. Boom, right? I will note that they do not specifically state that it is the damage bonus, because with glaives, right? They said the melee damage works at full effect. For Tempest, they just said works with Tempest, right?
Yeah,
This
that
could
makes
mean
sense.
that Tempest could grant you combination stacks.
I would prefer that. I mean, both is ideal. But getting the first combination blow stack this is why combination blow
It's
kind
the
of
worst
sucks.
thing ever.
If you can just use with Tempest Strike to get your first stack. Obviously, you'd have to be. The problem is you'd have to be on pure arc, not prismatic, because it just doesn't exist in prismatic. But if you are on like pure arc, that'll be okay.
Will a kill a Tempest Strike refund your dodge?
If it does,
Since
that'd be great. Yeah. I mean, you could just build on building on Tempest would be so much better than building on base melees, because building on base melees, oh god, it's miserable.
Tempest RDMs pre-nerf were awesome.
Yeah.
Super gimmicky, but they were really fun. And then combination blow works with grapple melee. Screw balance, screw everything, throw it out the window. Hunters are going to be doing like 1,000 damage casual nuclear bomb grapples on prismatic. Who cares anymore, right? I will note that combination blows cooldown is insanely low in the game currently. It is a nice where is it? Oh, it's just hold on. It is a nice 20 seconds, right? So in Edge of Fate, you're going to be able to further increase that by like 4 steps up. So there is a case to be made that in Edge of Fate, you no longer have to dodge to use combination blow. You could just keep punching.
Pretty good. Okay, yeah, that's half the problem removed.
Massively change combination blow. That would make it so much better than it currently is. But do note that makes that doesn't work with Tempest Strike. That doesn't work with Tempest Strike. You have to do whatever, right? Blah blah blah. All right. They start with hunters, so let's go straight ahead.
Do hunters, yeah, you can start with hunters.
Arthur's Embrace. They're just straight up increasing the damage bonus from 200 to 300%. If you guys don't know, Arthur's Embrace has a 50 melee stat increase for free just by getting the perk procced, which is how you use exotic in the first place. So this is going to give you a multiplier on top. Is this going to mean that Arthur's is going to nuke a champion with like shoot it with a shotgun hand cannon from a distance and you know, multiple pellets from the shotgun hand cannon give you instant Arthur's perk and then you just throw the knife? Will it kill a champion? I don't know. Probably not.
It's a bit of a stretch, but it'll be decent overall, I think.
But if it does, it does. Maybe in like low lost sector content, potentially. Liar's Handshake. For some reason, getting an increase by 200%. This is... I personally think we should remove Liar's Handshake from the game, but you know what? For the people who like using it, keep going, right? Keep going. Enjoy your dodge punch. Like, dodge punch is already hitting all thresholds for enemies. I don't think it's going to feel any different. There'll be a YouTube video saying, like, 12,000% on, like, Carl, and it's going to be so... Nothing's going to change. The number's going to be bigger, but thresholds are thresholds. If you're already one-shotting a major with a Liar's Handshake now, adding 200% damage to that is not going to change the gameplay. It's just going to be a bigger number.
It's not multiplicative, so it might still be similar to what it is now. But I can't see a world where this isn't good. It's such a huge buff.
It's good. It's straight up doubling Liar's damage, which Liar's is already doubling, like tripling, combination blows damage already.
There's not a world where this doesn't just one-shot all like major or below enemies. And then if you're like feeling goofy, you can do the whole Caliban combo or whatever. But I don't see a world where this isn't good.
Oh, it's good, but I'm not dodging.
No, combi blow is just frustrating in general. But this is a lot better than it is currently.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think it's going to change anything because you got to remember that combination blow and Liars would stack multiplicatively.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance that Liars getting this 200% in the actual live game, since it's additive, is probably going to be around the same.
What it is now. I think so, roughly.
Now, Ophidius Space. This one is massive. This one's massive. So if you don't know, Ophidius Space is currently good because the best knife on Solar Hunter, the knife trick, every single like damage increase is applied to each individual knife. So it's 100% increase, but it's 100% increase for 3 instances of damage. So you can like 2-shot a major, the ignition goes off, it refunds 2 melees, and you can just keep going, right? It's fantastic. The only issue that exists with Ophidius Space is hitting in higher end content, right? Which it already almost hits, right? This is going to make it clear that bar entirely. Because currently, it does not act on multiplicative scalars for melee damage. It's only additive currently. So they're just doubling its damage. So Ophidia's Fate is going to be crazy for Solar Hunter. I mean, it's Solar Hunter. You can't survive on it, but it's going to be really fun, right? Triton Vice.
Oh yeah, I love this.
I am so deeply happy from the bottom of my heart that they buffed Triton Vice's glaive melee damage to 200%. But it's just not Wormgod's Caress or Winter's Guile, and I'll still be vengeful. But hunters do have Stylish that will work with it, right? We do have easy access to Courage, so I raise my hands. Duck. Titan section.
Titan, yep. Just on Triton Bites quickly though. As it is currently 100%, on Prismatic Hunter there's not that many melee multipliers. So this does seem like, if you're running Pris Hunter, this is basically just doubling its effectiveness with glaives. So I think Triton Vice would genuinely be really, really good now. You still get all the other benefits. Your glaives should still go explodey in the overflow and stuff. So that will be good.
Triton Vice is going to be meta.
I think it's going to be really good. Maybe not that, but like it'll be, it'll be useful. Yeah, Titans.
When I say meta, I mean like top 5.
Top 5,
like you can bring
maybe.
that into
Yeah.
like high-end stuff and you'll be all right. You'll be all right. If you can use a GM with base synthoceps, which is only 100% right now, doubling that,
I think that's really good.
it's just going to be better.
People are not going to think about Triton Vice because it's been like kind of comically worse synthoceps for a long time, but I think it's actually really good now.
Agreed.
So Titans and Heart of Inmost Light. This is only the base version, which no one really uses anymore because everyone's just using the Spirit version instead. But Pris Titan might be a bit worse now, so maybe if you're using one of the like base classes, you can do this. But synthoceps exists. Heart of Immersed Light does let you spam your other abilities, but you're a Titan, so your abilities are basically just punching. I'm not sure this is going to move it in any sizable way, really. It does work with like glaives and stuff now, but again, I don't think it's going to do anything. Peregrines is going to be really good because this is like the percent wise, this is just the one where you can just go over the top. You got 400% from this. You're going to have 300% from Bastion. You're going to have 160% from something like Offensive Bulwark. So you're already pushing 1,000% shoulder charge, which will at this point just one-shot champions in any content. It does now, so the usefulness hasn't really changed. You go from one-shotting any applicable target to one-shotting any applicable target. But this is genuinely still a really good thing. If you want to do like fast Legend or Master Lost sectors, put on Peregrines, shoulder charge stuff, use a Bastion before now, which was not reliably possible before. You one-shot every champion. You can get easy clears using this. It's going to be really, really good where it's useful. So it has to be champions. Synthoceps is basically the same. Actually, I was gonna say, why does it say combination blow? But I assume this is just for the spirit version. That's really good.
I guess I'll put in a note. Combination blow is better than liars currently with synthoceps. If it wasn't nerfed.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be unnerfed. But liars just got increased to 400%, so throw that out the window. Who even cares anymore? The status quo remains the same.
Yeah, so having liars or synthoceps both seem roughly like they're both very useful. Probably go with liars, but they're both good. Glaive melee is actually a buff. It was 100% before. Now it seems like it's getting the full 165%, which is great. This is probably more of an off-Titan thing. Like, this is probably the best for Warlocks. Warlocks don't have much melee stuff. Winter's Guile, but that doesn't have the same tick-down bar that Wormgods has. And it's just awkward to use. If you don't get a melee kill in 5 seconds, you lose your entire bar kind of thing. So Spirit of Synthoceps on Pris Warlock with a glaive is probably the best prismatic Warlock melee setup you can get. There's just not much for a Warlock, but it's fine. That's decent. something about lightning surge, but it's PvP stuff, so I'll ignore that. Wishful ignorance was hilariously bad before. There was no point ever using this because synthoceps was just straight up better. I don't think this is going to be that useful still, because it is locked strands. And okay, the benefit you can get with Frenzied Blade 200% and Flashe Storm, but no one's using that. That is higher than synthoceps. But you have to build up to this. You have to use like basically all of your melee charges to get one 200% buff, which is not worth it. And synthoceps gives you a 50% super increase, which is actually on Strand Titan, the super is just usable. You can use it up for boss damage, you can use it for ad clear. It's one of the better like roaming supers. Really short cooldown because it's roaming. Synthoceps is still going to buff that 50%. Really good. Wishful Ignorance is still a bad synthoceps. And Worm God Caress is the best exotic in the game. I don't get this. 400%, again, not multiplicative, but Worm God wasn't multiplicative anyway, because if you use Worm Gods, he's probably using this on Strand. And if you use them both together, the Strand Banner of War buff got absolutely nuked down to basically nothing. Spoilers, Banner of War is also getting buffed by a huge amount, and this is getting buffed. So these two additive things are probably going to turn out to be more than the multiplicative we have now. And this is really good now. If you use Worm God Caress, you get max stacks, you grapple melee spam into a boss. Really good. This is probably better. This also works with glaive melees, which is ridiculous. You have a 400% glaive melee boost with just Worm Gods. And you're not going to use just Worm Gods. You're going to use this with Banner of War. And you're going to use it with Shield Crush. You're going to use it with 200 melee stat. You're going to use it with close to melee on your glaive. You're probably looking at maybe somewhere around a 15 times damage. I think you might get up there because some of these are multipliers. The melee stats a multiplier. Shield Crush is a multiplier. I'm not sure if close to melee is. I think it's just 60% now. But your glaive melee damage of like a maxed out Worm Gods is ridiculous now. You could probably use this for boss damage like people are doing now with Winterbite. Or you could just steamroll through everything. It doesn't matter. You just walk forward, you keep stabbing stuff. Life's good. Also, Worm Gods at max stacks give you a 35% weapon buff. Why? I don't know. But we do. So
Why not, right?
All your weapons just do 35% more damage. Just, there you go. That's a really high damage buff. Just have that as well. The best melee thing in the game. The best weapon buff in the game. Just go crazy. This thing is broken. Warlock's Winter's Guile is Worm God but bad. That's it. Moving on.
True that.
Go on then. Tell us about close to melee.
All right.
The one glaive perk.
Okay, so glaives don't really get that many damage increases aside from synthoceps right now. So like close to melee in the current game gives a like the percentage is small, right? 30%. But in actuality, it like scales your damage pretty high. So 60%, lovely, fantastic. I'll take it. Wonderful. 1-2 punch. It is just being increased damage, right? So if you guys don't know, 1-2 punch had like a massive nerf a little bit ago where Bungie was just like, we don't want 1-2 punch boss damage anymore. We don't want it against champions, and they just slashed it. They nerfed it. They removed it from a bunch of abilities, and they threw it away. Right? It was a dead perk on like every weapon. They just unnerfed it. So they just unnerfed that, and now it works with all melee abilities. So throwing hammer, throw consecration in there, right? Whatever you want, right? And then the melee damage bonus is no longer decreased when you use Liar's Handshake. So that is just ridiculous. That is just ridiculous, right? Like, ugh, I can't even think about that. The numbers are going to be crazy. And then the time the perk is active is 3 seconds. So this is enabling Hammer Strike, Shield Crash, long length things like Threaded Spike, because like even though it increases only the first hit, it does increase it for the rest in certain circumstances. But it doesn't matter. It's inconsistent anyways. But 1-2 punch is actually going to be good again.
It
Yeah,
seems very solid. There's that sudden death roll with that and trench barrel if you want to do that. There's
exactly.
also 50 billion shotguns which have this perk, so take
The
your pick.
shotgun hand cannon,
Perfect
the
paradox for
meta.
hand cannon. The hand cannon can have it, yeah, that's cool.
Like, here's a note: Hammer Titan, as it is right now, if you just move the 1-2 punch nerf back one step, was able to, like, two phase or sometimes one phase Ekthar solo,
Yeah,
with just 1-2 punch
that
and a
was the
hammer.
strat.
That they just re-enabled that and then buffed it. So welcome back, Hammer Titans, right?
Yeah, that with Roaring
You're here.
Flames. 200% from
Exactly.
Roaring Flames, 150 from this, 160 from Synthoceps, or 400 with Worm Gods. Your throwing hammer's going to be a nuke every time you hit it. And it's a new exotic as well. I don't know the numbers on that, but it looks like it buffs the throwing hammer in some way, so maybe that's good, maybe. Also, I just thought there is also one melee this is now enabled with. You can use it with Thunderclap, but you probably can't charge it the full way, but if you can count 3 seconds well, you can use Thunderclap. I guess.
Interesting.
But that doesn't matter.
Whatever.
That's whatever, yeah. But Bastion seems really good. Bastion's already good. People don't use this for some reason, but Bastion is very, very, very good. And it's unstop by default, so that's cool. But this is like just a juiced up version of 1-2 punch. Instead of 150% lean next, you get 300%. Seems very good. I just
Ridiculous.
numbers wise. Obviously, it charges up. So if you're just using this, you're not gonna do a Bastion shot between grapple melees. You're just gonna use a shotgun because it's instant. Then you go back to your melees. It is a bit of a DPS loss because you're charging up the shot. But if you just want to one-shot something, this is pretty good for that. And the weapon itself's fine. Like I say, it's really good. In terms of fusion rifles, the damage this thing outputs is actually quite respectable.
It's used for solo flawless strats for Hunter in Vesper's Host.
Yeah.
Like to kill the final boss.
Yeah,
It's good.
it's
It's a
genuinely,
good weapon.
it's just a good weapon. And this is making it
Unstop's
a
huge.
lot better. Unstop's good as well, yeah. Monte Carlo, used, but I've never used this thing for like a long time. So what do you think?
So Monte Carlo's melee, no one uses it, right? And most people who own Monte Carlo don't even have the catalyst equipped. Um, it does good, but it doesn't matter how much they buff it. You know, it two shots champions if the cards line up right currently. It's just like imagine taking dodge punch and using that for 3 hours and then multiply that by 2. The ease of use on Monte Carlo's bayonet is nothing. It's gone. It doesn't exist. It's cool that it no longer deals reduced damage, but I still don't think it's going to be in your loadouts. I don't think anyone's going to care about it still.
I think single melee hit wise, you can get some pretty funny numbers. But just from the whole clunkiness and having to use Monte Carlo,
It's
probably
very
not worth
clunky.
it. Yeah, probably not worth it. Winterby, though, this is a really good patch, right? This sounds like it's a bad thing. And I mean, technically it is. But what this means to me is that one of the playtesters tried out Winterby and stacked up as many melee buffs as they possibly can and said, no, this is too much. So this to me says that Winterby is still disgustingly good. This brings it down to just fine, hopefully. It's still going to be amazing. 20% bonus damage from just existing is still decent. Obviously, close to melee is 60% here, so that would be better. But Winterbite freezes, which in itself is a melee boost, because if you melee a frozen target, I think that's like a 220% damage increase.
I want to note here. Want to note.
Which is
So
good.
they're taking that 50 to a 20%, right? But with courage, you're gonna do an
you
extra
get 50
now.
Yeah, so if you have courage on,
gonna
you're
do
just
more than it did
passively
before.
getting that more. Yeah. So if you're on prismatic, this doesn't matter, but you've got to run courage. You lose a fragment slot, but it's definitely worthwhile if you're doing this. Winterbite currently is really, really good. People are utilizing it to just farm bosses, like the Phalanx Echo. You just poke the boss with a Winterbite and it dies. If it's on ultimatum, you can farm weapons really easily. It's the most brain-dead boss damage strat ever, and it's really, really effective. Now it does have Nobel and a 50% currently. Those two things are getting reduced, but what we're getting seems to probably counteract that and then some. So I can still see this being if you want a good glaive, Winterbite is still going to be probably your best option at the cost of your heavy ammo slot, which I think is pretty fair trade-off. Yeah, still overall really good. So
True, true, true.
exotics, hunters.
All right,
What's hunting?
I am the hunter. So Dragon Shadow has been pretty dead. It was only used in year 1 because the dodge cooldown was low enough to where you could dodge, and then it would come back a second before the Dragon Shadow's effects would be up. But that is no longer a thing, and it hasn't been used since. So they are maintaining Dragon Shadow being a PvP exotic. So for most of you watching, nothing matters here. But if you are a PvP player, it gets passively increased weapon stability and ready speed. Ready speed being the most important thing here because of like shotgun ready speed. The stability will help you get not flinched in shotgun duels. I genuinely believe that Dragon Shadow could be PvP meta. But it entirely depends on the stat increases for those. Like Dragon Shadow gives like 50 reload, 50 like 0.98 scalars, like crazy stuff. So it could be high, could be low, but yeah, that's basically it. They just changed it from a mobility stat to a class stat increase and gave it a passive buff. So it it might be good in PvP. That's basically it. Next up, my babies. My babies, my child. I carry it in my arms every day, wondering when its eyes will open up, and it will do that in Edge of Fate. Speedloader Slacks, the debatably in line with Blight Ranger for being the worst exotic in the game, is no longer going to be so. So currently, Speedloader Slacks is a ×5 stackable buff that applies to your teammates around you, including yourself, which just gives you a ton of reload speed and a ton of handling. It is cool, it is nice, but it is completely useless in the game currently. With this change, you could basically ignore everything in the top of there and just say, this whole exotic is about dodging now. It's like Radiant Dance Machines on sustained damage instead of kills. So that's its whole perk. You deal damage, you get class ability energy. When you use your class ability, it gives you and your allies like borderline lunafactions for funsies, right? But the entire real perk is dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. Depending on how much it gives and how much it scales with the energy return rate on 100 class ability, this could be the return of pre-nerf Radiant Dance Machines, where you could just throw a threaded spike, dodge, throw a threaded spike, dodge, and you just keep going forever. Big potential.
So this
And
one's good.
for damage strategies, you could put on Marksman's dodge, fire a rocket. It could give you half your dodge back, right? You could have full damage strats where you're just getting Marksman's to keep auto-loading your stuff. That's awesome. And it reloads all of your weapons. All of them. So it's going to be fantastic for like damage swaps. But Foe Tracer exists. Keep that in mind. Mask of Bacchus. It's mainly a roleplay exotic. It's not good in anything except for PvP with niche weapons like Nation of the Beast for damage threshold shenanigans. But now it is going to be a like 3-step process. They are supposedly, I'm just imagining this because the new perk wouldn't work unless they did this. They are removing the restriction on class ability regeneration after you use a light shift dodge. And every single kill you get with a weapon, specifically, is going to give you class ability energy back while light shift is active. So the way this is going to work is you dash with light shift, use your class ability, and while light shift is active, getting a kill will then just give you your class ability back, so you can use a light shift again. Now, why would you use that in the first place? It has a stacking up to 3 times 10% damage increase, which stacks with surges for stasis weapons, arc weapons, and Lord of Wolves for funsies, and it is only active when a arc or stasis super is equipped. Will this be good? Debatable. Will it be fun? Definitely. Kepri Sting. Oh, me oh my, me oh my. I've been waiting for this one. So they removed the automatic smoke bomb activation when using a melee attack. All this did was waste a smoke bomb on accident, so it's good to be gone, but yeah. They removed the true sight when dealing damage to the smoke bomb. This is a heavy nerf to PvP, so rest in peace, Kepri Sting in PvP. And then they added a whole new perk. So this is basically a new exotic, and that is killing weakened targets, creates a burst of weakening smoke, and returns smoke bomb energy. How I expect they're trying to get here is you throw a smoke bomb into a crowd of enemies, you kill those enemies, which then explodes in more smoke, and those killed enemies give you more smoke bomb energy to then keep doing this over and over again. It entirely depends on how wide is the weakening smoke, how much is the weakening, and how much energy back do you get. It could be good, it could be cope. I don't know. It just sounds like demoralize on an exotic. It's not that crazy, but who knows, right? Oathkeepers. Currently, its damage buff is not high enough to outdo the DPS of just using a bow normally. Awesome. But now they're increasing its damage buff by 50%, and they're giving more of the total damage buff earlier in the draw. So this could potentially lead to some things, but it's probably not, because the only bows that actually get use from the Oathkeeper's buff is Wishender, which, okay, and then the Strand exotic bow that I don't even remember the name of because no one uses it, the suspending one. It doesn't work with the heavy exotic bow, so unless they magically change that and don't say anything, Oathkeepers is still going to remain useless. Bright Ranger. This one's a little funny. They say that with previous balance changes, they failed to hit the mark, right? But they believe that this buff will hit the fantasy of the exotic. They're giving it extra juice, actually a lot of extra juice, quote unquote. So what are they actually doing to Blight Ranger to give it all that extra juice? The blinding attack that happens within like 5 meters from you when you cancel your super is getting a damage buff. All right, that's it, guys. That's the Blight Ranger change.
Cool.
That's the juice. Take it away, my Titan compatriot.
Okay, well, yep, Hunter seemed like there was a few good ones. Bacchus speedloaders to me sound like the two standouts. Speedloaders specifically, mainly the big one. But
Yeah.
Titan does have some pretty good stuff. Alpha Lupi is one of the standout ones. It doesn't sound too flashy. It's, yeah, if you're behind a barricade and you do damage, you get healing, is your team behind the barricade. So what we have this season, you put down the bolt charge barricade, you fire a bunch of weapons like Le Monarch, Aerodynamic Gels, whatever gives you bolt charge quickly. And every time that bolt charge discharges, you have the artifact mod, I think it's Defibrillating Blast or whatever it's called, which heals you on bolt charge cast. So you sit behind your barricade, you deal decent damage with bolt charge, and you get sustained for it. But obviously that mod is going away. Crest of Alpha Lupi is basically just that mod back. But here, you don't even have to use bolt charge. You can use anything. Realistically, you are going to use bolt charge if you're using a rally barricade support kind of build. But on any Titan class, you can put down a rally barricade, anyone behind it, as long as they're just shooting, we keep getting healing effects over time. It's basically Loreley, but on any subclass. And we saw how good this is, because it makes the game basically play itself. You can sit behind a barricade completely stationary, just plinking away at a boss with Le Monarch, say, and you'll just get healing over time. Also, your healing does give you barricade energy back, which is another mod we had this season, where if you do volatile damage, you get class ability energy back. This is the same thing, but with anything. So you sit behind a rally barricade, you have all the bolt charge stuff, and you never move ever again. It's so boring, but it's so effective. This will definitely be used. 100% this will be used. Day 1 raid, probably going to be used. GM's definitely going to be used. Really, really good. But yeah, boring. Phoenix Cradle. Yeah, we do buff the best things about Titan over time, which is weird, but there you go. But this one wasn't the best thing. This is Phoenix Cradle. This was very, very niche. And now your teammates can see when you're being niche. I mean, this is fine. This is a good thing because, yeah, looking at a sunspot, you can hardly see the sunspots. So make them bright blue and you might be able to see them. Sustained solar weapons extend a sunshot's duration. A sunspot. You could use sunshot, I guess. That's pretty good because these sunspots are actually quite potent. You get a lot of buffs from them. And providing solar buffs to allies can create a sunspot just at where you are. Okay, again, that's fine. This is all just quality of life making this better. This does have a niche use of if your teammates in sunspots to get a bunch of buffs, whatever, just general buffs, your abilities come back faster. But the kind of unique one is this super lasts longer. I think I did a video on this a while ago where you can make Chaos Reach do about 2 million damage if you're in someone else's sunspot. So if you have a Geomag user on your team who's sitting in your sunspot, this super will be hugely buffed by this. So if you want to win Movie of the Week, what you need to do, have one person on this Phoenix Cradle and have 5 people all on Chaos Reach. They all Chaos Reach at the same time. The Chaos Reach lasts for like 20 seconds. There's a bunch of Star Wars cosmetics, right? You equip that on all the Warlocks. So if you look like the Star Wars character, I've not watched the film, sorry, I think it's Palpatine. Do that, you'll win Movie of the Week. So pretty good for that. Standardides, I don't see this being particularly great. Still, these aren't very good at all. Maybe it's a PvP thing, I'm not entirely sure. It says you get a static charge. Does that mean bolt charge, or is this a separate thing?
That is dev term for bolt charge.
I think it means bolt charge. I mean, this is okay. It's getting the first stack of bolt charge is the important thing. After that, you can do damage at everything and you charge it up and discharge it. Getting the first charge can be difficult, especially if you're not on arc. Using this on arc is... Oh no, you have to use a Juggernaut. Yeah, this is bad, whatever, who cares? It doesn't seem good.
Move on.
No, if you could do this on solar and get bolt charge, cool. But you can't.
Yeah, if you do solar, but you can't, so...
Okay, this sucks. Burning Steps. This is like, yeah, Bacchus, the same applies here. You do solar stuff, you get solar buffs. But 20% solar weapon damage, which will stack with surges and whatever other weapon buffs we're going to get, is pretty good. Solar weapons are historically quite good. There's Hezen Vengeance, there's Sleeper, there's Whisper, there's Sunshot, there's whatever. There's so many good solar weapons.
Wolves.
Lord of Wolves is pretty good, I've heard. Yeah, it might be okay. The bow, the dungeon bow, is getting a rework. That might be okay, who knows. But yeah, point is a lot of good solar weapon damage, and you get 15% bonus ignition damage. Ignitions are decent. The bonus you get isn't huge here, but because it is a buff to something which is already good, if you're running solar weapons and you don't know what to use, this could be something you could use. You don't have to run this on Solar Titan, but the fact that you get so much more ignitions on there is probably worth it. Or you could do Prismatic Titan, Consecrate. The whole Consecrate melee ignition multiplier is gone. This gives you 15% back, which is nothing compared to what you lost, but it is a slight consecration buff. Ambient Leap, this is simple enough. Not the best exotic in the world because you're locked to Strand Titan, and if you're playing Strand Titan, you're doing Banner of War plus melee stacking. But if you do want to go the suspend route, this will make it a bit better. I think this effect should be on the class item. I'm not saying it is, but I think they should do this. Because using it on Prismatic will give it a lot more kind of variation of use, because yeah, you're not using this on Strand unless you really want to build into suspend. But if it's on Prismatic, especially with Consecration spam being a lot less effective now, this could be a good way to go. So hopefully we put this change onto Prismatic, then this change will actually be, pretty decent. Probably a quality of life thing.
Does have Dranger's Lash as an aspect.
It does, yeah. But it has the class version of Ambient Leap, right, which doesn't get the full effect, so I'm not sure if it will get this or not. Hopefully it does. If it does, then cool. If not, they probably should add that at some point. Actium War Rig, okay. Here's a kind of thing which is probably a hot take. This will be a good exotic. There's no way this isn't good. There's so many auto rifles and machine guns in the game now. It turns out a few of these happen to be pretty good. So it works with machine guns, which means quite a bit. Ammo generation for a machine gun, if you have something like Commemoration with 4th times a charm, the ammo economy on that thing, you could probably do a GM just using it. and not run out of ammo. This gives you ammo generation on kills, and obviously you got 4th times, and this will load shots into the mag, so you never have to worry about that 10-second reload. This also has a stacking damage bonus. So like Peacekeepers, this is for auto rifles and machine guns. Stacks up to 10 times, with higher stacks expiring more quickly. So I imagine this works in the same way as something like Wormgod Caress does. Get a bunch of kills, fills up the bar, probably about 30 to 35% at the high end of the bar. When you stop getting kills, it will just slowly degrade down. But there's so many good machine guns. I said the Commemoration's good, Xenophage is good, Thunderlord, I know it's for dads, but it is good. There's a lot of good options. Auto rifle, same thing. Kvostov, everyone loves Kvostov. There's Necrochasm, which is really good. And there's the best weapon in the game, Choir of One. I think Choir of One with ammo generation, probably a 30 to 35% damage boost. And you can also use a machine gun in your heavy slot for like ad clear and just use Choir of One for like burst damage instead. That setup seems really, really good. Obnoxiously good. This is probably the underrated one. Everyone's going to look at this and go, oh my god, that's great. I can make Rufus's Fury slightly better. No, there's so much actual use here. If this isn't good, I'll be genuinely shocked. Finally, Alpha Lupi. Even the spirit version heals your allies. So on Prismatic, instead of committing the full exotic to this, you can just use a spirit version so you still have half the exotic slot for something else. I think this is a column 1 option, so you can use this in synthoceps, so that's pretty good. But I do think Alpha Lupi, 90% of the time if you're using this, it's going to be on arc with the Storm's Keep barricades, so I don't know, this is just nice to have, I suppose. And Warlocks. Because none of us are Warlock mains, I say we just take it in turns to this one. You want to do the first one? The first one, one's
sure.
a nice one. You can do this one, yes.
So Starfire Protocol, beloved by many. It was heavily overrated when it was meta, but it's back. So the biggest change is right up at the front. Starfire Protocol now counts empowered damage from Radiant. And if you're on Solar, you're always Radiant, right? So you're constantly going to be having the Starfire Protocol grenade regeneration at all times. It's kind of ridiculous. And they're taking that nerfed to 2.5%, they're increasing it to 5%, and then you have to add in the fact that we're going to be able to stack that with the grenade stat to probably make it land somewhere around 7-8%, and we're in business. And then we have the nice reduced fusion grenade energy gain from Final Blows. This is needed. Sure, it's a nerf, but if Radiant is giving you 20% of your grenade on every kill, that's just better than Devour. And even with this nerf, 15% on a kill is better than Devour. And it's probably going to stack with the grenade stat as well. Massive change. Starfire Protocol is going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic.
Okay, Wings of Sacred Dawn might not be as good, but this first effect, whenever I see this, it's always the greatest thing of all time. So combatants are less accurate towards you. Amplified has this currently. With that and the 15% DR, Amplified has become like from the most pointless thing ever to probably the best elemental buff. And it's mainly because of this combatants are less accurate towards you thing. It's similar to Manticore, this does the same thing. You could probably have this, you could have Manticore, and you could be amplified at the same time, and maybe everything will miss you forever. But at the same time, amplified, when you have that, you can be running around like a madman. With this, you're basically stuck to very, very slow movement. So if this effect is strong, this could be good, but it probably won't be amplified tier if you've got to use this. In fact, it definitely isn't. This is still very niche. And if you have a Solar Super equipped, you do get Restoration and Reload. Oh, that's pretty good, to be fair. Like, Restoration and just on airborne kills. Okay, pretty good. And so weapons as well. Solid, not meta. There will be people trying this and it will be usable, which I don't think it currently is, really, to much extent. But it's, yeah. If you're running Solar, use Starfire Protocol. That's basically all I have to say about this one.
Alright, Felwinter's Helm, the most niche speedrun, how do we kill Nezarec the fastest exotic is getting a pretty large quality of life increase for the people who use it, which is not many. And that is using a powered melee will apply 15% weaken. And if you know how weaken extensions work, you can get Felwinter's Helm to apply a 30% weaken on a boss, and then you can use this 15% on a powered melee to extend it back up to the max stacks or back up to max seconds and have the same 30% weaken applied. And yeah, that's basically it. The weaken effects applied by the burst, they're unchanged. They didn't touch it. So that's Felwinter's.
So Prometheum Spurs. Basically what I figured out here has nothing to do with the exotic, but as it comes to Warlock changes, I've got the absolute terrible ones. Felwinter's Helm seems cool. Starfire Protocol seems cool. Sacred Dawn, Prometheum Spur, probably not going to be that useful. This one got a bit of a rework, but it's still a bit mid. So, okay, you have a Solar Super, you put a Rift down, and you get one of the effects depending on which type you got. If you get a Healing Rift, okay, you use that, you get Radiant. Who cares? You get Radiant by hitting 4 crits with any solar weapon this season. Going forwards, this might be okay, but again, you have to be on Solar. If you're on Solar, you can get Radiant by just kind of existing. This is another way to exist, but you have to give up your exotic slot for something bad. So, not gonna use healing with it at all. Empowering Rifts, weapon defeats give you Cure. It's okay. Again, Cure's good. Cure procs Ember of Benevolence, but instead, to cure yourself, you could just be running Healing Rift instead. So, look, Prometheum Spur, this has probably had the title of worst exotic in the game. After this change, it might have a title of worst exotic in the game. Good stuff. What you got for boots? These are actually good.
This is a crazy one. You have to give me a second here. So when Speaker Sight came out in the final shape, it completely replaced Boots of the Assembler. So much so that people probably forget this exotic is even inside the game. So let's lay the land here. What does Boots of the Assembler do? If a Warlock with these boots stands in a Healing Rift or Empowering Rift, the benefits are different, but they will make a giant orb. It's the same orb as Speaker Sight, and it will float towards your different allies, right? It is client side, I believe, so everyone's gonna get their own one for the most part. I could be wrong on that, but it used to be like that. And if it was on Healing Rift, it would give you a massive bit of healing, and I think restoration, but I could be wrong. It's been such a long time. But if it's on Empowering Rift, it is going to give you a little bit of healing, not a lot, but it is going to give you the same damage buff as Lumina, which is the highest damage buff you can get in the game. So a strategy a long time ago was to have one Warlock behind a well and use the Empowering Rift Boots the Assembler buff to give everyone Lumina damage without needing Lumina. So it was crazy, but it got nerfed. Speaker Sight came out. It's been lying in the dust. It's officially time for it to replace Speaker Sight. It's coming back from the dead, and it's seeking vengeance. So the Noble Seekers are just going to constantly shoot out depending on your fire team size. So if you have 6 players, it's probably going to fire out more of them quicker. And if you're in a GM, like a small group, it's not going to heal or send them out as much because it doesn't really need to do that. So yeah, that's that. And the tracking range has been changed to 40 meters away. And that basically means nothing because people are going to be surrounding you. It's like Speaker Sight, right? Noble Seekers will prioritize allies who have not been healed in the last 8 seconds. See, Speaker Sight got a massive nerf by making it to where it will only heal allies who have taken damage and then like 2 seconds after they've taken damage. So Assembler is not getting that. Instead, it's just running a check. Has this person taken damage in this time? No. And it's going to prioritize people who are in combat and who are not in combat, right? And then it's going to... This is the hugest one, all right? This is the biggest thing in this whole entire list. Noble Seekers can now target allies standing in the rift producing them. A main reason why Assembler was a niche exotic was because if you wanted the benefits of Assembler, you had to get out of the Assembler rift. So it was really strange because you couldn't place it down for damage. It had to be away, and it was all this. No more. No more. And you can place a rift inside a well and it will work. So if what I'm reading is correct here, the born to Nova Force to Weld locks are getting back on well, and you're gonna be able to increase weld damage by 35% for free because of Boots of the Assembler. And then we're just gonna increase this even more. Who cares that it doesn't target an ally? And it will not detonate when they're not targeted, so it'll only go after the guys going after. It won't like get impacted by a random thing. And then here's the crazy one. It gives you class ability energy when a Noble Seeker impacts with allies, and it scales based on fireteam size. So let's place you into like Vesper's Host contest, right? Where you'd have a Warlock throw a Speaker Sight nade at the ground. It heals you constantly, and that's its purpose, right? Because Well struggles to survive these days. Speakers fixes that. With Boots of the Assembler, you're going to be able to just put a rift down in the well. It's going to give you Lumina damage buff and heal you, and that's it. You just need to have the boots equipped and place a rift, and it's going to give you your rift energy back for, guess what? Nothing, just for using it. So goodbye Speaker Sight. Welcome back Boots of the Assembler. This is instantaneously meta for contest. It's fantastic. It's gonna be wonderful.
Okay, yeah, that seems like that is the go-to Warlock exotic for group content going forwards. That has to be. It's ridiculously
Very
good.
much so.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So Geomags, this is much simpler, thankfully. We all know how Geomags work. This last season, they've been really, really good. They're getting a super energy reduction from Ionic Traces, which was a way you could just charge up your super in like 10 seconds. But on all the Ionic Trace generation stuff, use Geomags to get your super really fast. This is less now, 4% instead of 7%, but it isn't. Because if you're running Geomags, you're going to have 200 super. Like, at least you're going to want to. And that will return super energy from all sources, but like, it will just boost the amount. So instead of 4%, I think it'll be like a multiplier on that, so it might be more towards 5 or 6%. Maybe slightly less than what it is now, but nowhere near as bad as this looks. Also, you've got 200 super. So every Chaos Reach you do cast with this will be doing more damage. Anything above 100 super will increase your damage of your super. You can go to about 40% if you cap it out, but that is huge. You will get a Chaos Reach in 10 seconds because, again, all super returns is boosted, which means even the weapon damage you're doing, any kills you get, that will give you more super back than what you're getting now. So you will get Chaos Reach back the same speed, if not more, as you currently have now, and your Chaos Reach will do a lot more damage. Obviously, artifact mods aside, right now we have a super boosting artifact mod, which makes it pretty good. But instead of that, we're getting a permanent stat you can have all the time, which will always buff your super damage no matter what. This is still really good, and there's a bolt charge effect now, where sprinting will give you the last 5 stacks. Seems very, very quickly. So it's every 0.3 seconds. So if you're at 5 stacks of bolt charge and you sprint for a second, you're basically at max. And Arc Warlock has a bunch of ways where you're going to be getting bolt charge stacks all the time. Again, getting the first stack is the most important part. If you have some bolt charge, you can use Geomags to top it off and discharge as soon as you can. This is a completely passive thing. You're not going to look at your buff bar and be like, oh, I've got 5 stacks of bolt charge. Let me run around in a circle for a second. It doesn't matter. Ignore all these patches here to bolt charge, but just know you will be getting more bolt charges from it. Overall, it looks like a nerf. It's kind of equal to what it is now, but because of a stat rework, this ends up actually being a lot better. Now, that is it. We're done. We're finished. That's it.
Oh my god.
Over.
Oh my god. Save me, save me, save me.
Finally done. That was like, I think that was about...
I hate this twab, bro. I hate this twab.
This might be over
Killing
an
this
hour.
twab.
I think it is over an hour overall. Oh my god. But overall, really good changes. Melee builds will be incredible. All of these exotic changes, apart from Prometheum Spur, seems really good. Actually, no, there was also the bow one. That sucks. But yeah, apart from a few, all these exotic changes look really good. But yeah, all the super exotics are going to be absolutely juiced. Geomags is the best one, probably. But just because of the super stat, all of these super exotics are going to be insane. Even if you're not mentioned, all of them are going to be amazing. War Rig is going to be peak. Caress is still amazing. What else is it? Bacchus is cool. Speedloaders might be funny. I think there's a world where speedloaders gives you enough of a buff that you can send yourself to orbit by repeatedly using what's it called, Ascension. That is peak.
Potentially.
Potentially it could happen.
You gotta remember, if you stack Hope with Radiant, a slow source with the increased regeneration rate from Winter Shroud, your Gambler's Dodge can be around a 5-second cooldown at 100 class.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So throw that in with the any damage gives you class ability energy with Speedloader. Radiant Dance Machines is back.
You can just dodge forever. That is, honestly, yeah,
Old
speedloaders
School Ascension.
might be good. Like, straight up, they're peak.
They're peak.
There's been so much stuff I forgot half of things. Melee, yeah, all the melee stuff seems really good. You've really got to consider it's not multiplicative. Sometimes. But the values are so stupidly high, especially when it comes to glaives. Because with glaives, you weren't using that many multipliers anyway. You was just putting on Spirit of Synthoceps and calling it a day, basically. Which was just 100%. With this, there's so many things you can do. And I think glaives are going to be ridiculous. That's probably why they got like the overall nerf, and I said that against red bars, whatever, do 40% less. He was always one-shotting them anyway. You'll still be always one-shotting them, who cares? Against bosses, you get a 50% reduction, which is quite a lot. Like, it is a hefty reduction. But there's clearly a reason they got this reduction, right? But they must have tried this out and been like, yeah, this is just by far the best thing ever. So they reduced it a bit, but if you build into it now, they're still going to be absolutely incredible. The glaive enjoyers are going to have a good time.
Video Space gonna go crazy. Video Space
actually seems viable.
Why'd they double its damage? I love it, but that's insane.
And that is just a straight up double as well, yeah, because he was never using multipliers with that.
There was no multiplier.
He was just existing.
Now you're gonna get a multiplier from the melee stat, and it's just doubled.
Yeah, that's
it was already killing -10 majors with 2 like sets of knives. It's like one shot a major just passively. Like what? Why?
And knives actually function now. That's peak.
On your mark. Whatever.
On your mark, peak.
Anyways, on your mark.
This is actually incredible. Yeah, that's it. This is a very long video. There might be another one when the next twab that thing drops. The twid now. Where the next one is probably going to be abilities, I think. And
general
ability. They're going to make Bolt Charge deal 10 damage per activation. That's it. That's the leak. It's going to be useless.
Number crunch. Celestia will do 200 damage on a crit.
Oh no.
It's over.
Solo Witness will be impossible. So if you want to Solo Witness, you better do it now. But yeah, that's the lot. Thank you for watching, I guess. Man, long video, long ass video.